Hello everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to my weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream, Crafting Annihilation, in which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Tomb of Annihilation, except there will not be another session of Tomb of Annihilation, so I've renamed this Ending Annihilation. Yes, this is an early start. Do not adjust your... You don't have to check your clocks. My schedule this week is currently absolute chaos. As most of you who follow me on the channels and whatnot know that we just welcomed our second child on Sunday, so videos and streamings have been definitely borked. I wanted to try to squeeze this one in, and this is about the only time I can do it, is slot it in here right at a slightly earlier time before things start happening some more. So that's why I've bumped it up a bit. I don't even have to do my usual intro, do I? I guess I should do Patreon shoutouts. Because we do stream our sessions live, but we won't be doing that. Well, we will be doing one more tomorrow, so that'll be our epilogue and recap session. But if you like Sports Channel, patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shoutouts to Platinum patrons Andrew, Joe, Will, Tiny Dancer, Nick R, Andy, Chris, Manuel, Basil, and Nick C. And Gold patrons RPG Papercrafts, Charming Grenade, Pretty Boy Numa, Marcos Dave Vicente, Gilberto, Sean AK, Cert 2B, Adam, Dead Lizard Lounge, Sam, Ross, Lumpy Spuds, Jerome, and Fatboy619. Shout out to new patron Fatboy619. Thank you all for your support. For our campaign, we use Roll20.net. For streaming, I use Open Broadcaster software with Streamlabs. It is good fun. By good fun, it means I've gotten, I could count the number of sleep I've had on two hands in the last couple days, but yes. Ends coffee at 10:30 in the morning. I mainly wanted to just be able to recap the final showdown, I guess, since otherwise I wouldn't get a chance to really talk about how that went and how that worked. And then if we'd like to, we can kind of, if there's some time remaining, obviously I don't have to prep anything at this point, we can just talk about the overall campaign. That's definitely going to be something that we're going to talk about tomorrow for our epilogue and recap session. I'll go through some of the stuff that happens, to the players afterwards, which I'm still trying to figure out. As I mentioned, this week has been a bit chaotic. And then we will kind of just go over the entire session and get a really fun chance to just chat with you all, with all the players here, and just talk about like what worked and what didn't. And it's just been kind of a fun feedback system. It's going to be tricky now because we have way more game than I ever have had before. I mean, 80, almost 90 sessions over the course of almost 2 years. It's going to be really difficult to try to cover everything and even remember individual things that happen, but hopefully that'll be a fun thing to do. And I do have some fun stats I can talk about, like the number of inspirations that was handed out, and maybe turn that into a fun little game for everybody to choose that kind of stuff. So that'll be kind of what's going on for tomorrow's session. And then at the end of tomorrow's session, we will announce what is coming next. But I can confirm, as folks who have chatted on the Discord channel and stuff, that we are taking a couple breaks. Obviously, having a kid right now, it would be very advantageous to take a bit of a break here. And we really haven't done a very long break since we started doing this like years and years ago. We've been able to go up to the next campaign with maybe even only a week or two off. But this time we want to take some decently significant time, a couple weeks for sure, and start at some point in August. So that'll be the plan there. So the final battle, oh man. I obviously made some adjustments since we last talked on last week's Crafting Annihilation. I was so stressed out and overwhelmed and anxious, more so than I think I ever have for the entire campaign, because I know that this final fight was going to be really tricky and has a lot going on, and it was going to be really difficult for me to keep track of everything. I did not expect... I mean, I was glad that we had this down to the entire session. That was definitely a goal. But even then, it took, like... what did it take? Like, over 3 hours, I think? No, it took like 4... How long did it take? It took a while. It took even longer than I expected. So, I mean, the problem is Acererak didn't even show up until, like, hours into the session, because the players struggled so much against the Atropol. I did really like the environment fight. I almost think that, if we're being honest, I think this final encounter would have worked better without Acererak at all. Like, you don't need him. He's a massive tier 4 threat. The players haven't earned the right to fight him, and that's part. And the design just kind of wants to shoehorn. He's on the damn cover of the book. He doesn't play any part in the campaign. He shows up at the end, and then all the players receive this super buff so they can fight him, and it just feels like a weird coda to the already big boss battle. What's interesting is I didn't expect the Atropole Soulmonger thing to be such a big boss fight. I expected the players to take care of that pretty quickly, and then Acererak shows up, and now the real boss fight begins. But that's not really the cadence of what happened. Instead, the Atropole Soulmonger fight ended up being a pretty satisfying, cool boss fight. It has a big environmental challenge with the lava and the struts. When the Atropole's just floating in the air, it can constantly cause that exhaustion levels to increase, although as we discovered, it's very difficult to keep track of what that does because there's so much going on in this fight. The fact that the tentacles can reach out and attack people. I had the Soulmonger produce a Wraith every turn, which normally, and I did make some adjustments to the balance for sure because the players always just kick ass on everything. So I really wanted to kind of tune things and make it a little more challenging. And one way I did that is that the Atropole has the ability to summon a Wraith, but it takes its action to do that, and it only recharges on if you roll a 6 on a d6. So I changed that to make it so that it's not the Atropole doing that, it's the Soulmonger itself that's summoning a Wraith every turn. And the Soulmonger can just summon a Wraith, and I think I did it where it was like the beginning, and I really tried to organize it to offload some of the mental load because, and you all can probably tell, once we reach the point where Acererak shows up, I'm just starting to get drained of everything going on mentally. And so I just had it be that the Atropole just wailed at the end of every round. Don't try to figure out just do every end of every round, Atropole wails, and the end of every round, a Wraith is summoned. And we started the fight with both those things happening before we even rolled initiative and stuff. So there was a Wraith that automatically popped out, and everybody was having to make the save against the Atropole, which, as I expected, Constitution saves on my party are really good. So the exhaustion levels weren't actually that bad, even though the Atropole hung around for a long time, way longer than I expected. And I was worried because it was lasting so long, but I think the worst they got is maybe to 3rd level exhaustion, which is still pretty bad in combat, but I think we forgot half the time about those penalties. So the Wraiths were actually really interesting because I was rolling so good on these Wraiths. Holy crap, they only have a +6 to hit, and I was nailing 20+ attack rolls with these Wraiths, and for some reason doing 30-some damage, to where if you notice, the first time I did that damage, I had to do a double take and make sure it rolled correctly because I know the average damage was closer to 20, and I was rolling closer to 30 on all these things. And they have that extra so it's a big deal. They summon, Wraiths are no joke. They summon CR5s, and they're nice because they're really easy to run. It's just they do their one attack, they're undeads, they don't have a lot of strategy. It was an easy summon to add. And it was really effective to this fight because not only did I happen to just roll really well and do some serious damage, but if you notice, the players didn't actually want to run in there and to the Soulmonger too quickly, so these Wraiths absorbed a lot of their turns, which is the biggest thing that minions do in these boss fights. So I did really like the way that worked out. I would really recommend decoupling the Wraith summoning from the Atropole and just make that a thing that the Soulmonger does every single turn, every single round that it's still up. So in other words, I think it lasted 3 rounds. We have 3 Wraiths, and then I believe they destroyed it after that, which stopped all the Wraiths. Although I kept one of the Wraiths around, it didn't necessarily destroy them. So I thought that was pretty fun. Obviously, George teleporting to the Soulmonger was a holy shit moment. I was unprepared for. I think all DMs would be unprepared for that. How do you even rule that? And a part of me was like, I don't want to do this because I have no idea how to even make the rules for that. But on the other hand, you got to do that, right? The player had such a cool idea. You want to be able to reward cool things like that. And I didn't want to necessarily be like, all right, well, you teleport in there and instantly vaporize or something lame. So instead, I basically just imposed, I'm trying to remember because this was me trying to come up with rules on the fly. I think I imposed disadvantage to everything he was trying to do. I think I summoned a Wraith inside of the Soulmonger, and gave the Wraith advantage to attack him, and then whenever everybody took the auto damage from the Atropole, I just doubled that damage and said, okay, this is the damage doing to you because you're inside the Soulmonger juice. So it was a lot of different factors, but the important thing is he was protected from the tentacles, which is why he did that. So I don't know. I thought it was pretty clever and badass. I wanted it to happen. I wanted to make it happen, and I just thought that was a really fun, cool thing to do, and hopefully I came up with decent rules on the fly, so I thought that was pretty neat. He's in there like just smashing the thing, and I mean, and with the way the Atropole's necrotic aura worked, is I feel like that flavored the fact that he was taking damage the whole time, being in this damaging environment, and he did go down. I think after he burst the thing open, I believe the Wraith took him down when he tried to escape. So a fun thing happened. Normally, Acererak doesn't show up until the Atropole is down, but it had taken them a long time to take down the Soulmonger, and the Atropole was still at like 60 or 70% health. So I was like, if Ace doesn't show up now, like it's really going to be a final Coda thing where he's not even going to really do anything. We're going to be so late, and I do not want to go too long, even though we did end up going pretty long. So I had Acererak show up when the Soulmonger was destroyed, and my notes was, whichever one of these things is the first one to be destroyed, that will summon Acererak and get him into this fight. So Acererak showed up. The Atropole's still around pretty well, and then I don't remember when the Minotaur skeletons were summoned as additional minions, but I thought, like, again, minions are good. Get those minions up. And they did a decent job of just kind of, harrying the players. I 100%... Yeah, he wasn't healed, so I'm going to talk about that. I 100% forgot to do the whole Trickster God 50 temporary hit point thing. I didn't forget. I was still, honestly, between all of you, because we're in, Crafting Annihilation, I was going to play it by ear. I was just going to see how this fight is going. Where's everybody at? If everybody's really struggling and going down, then we'll go ahead and give them probably a one-time 50 hit point boost. I had a bunch of notes basically to see what was going to be the best method to deal with this, and I ultimately determined, okay, what if? And this was part of my notes. What if somebody goes down to 0 hit points? That triggers the Trickster God, then giving them a life-saving boost. But the Trickster God goes away. Like, they no longer gain that power, but they get healed up. And I was really debating on, God, how many hit points do I give them? Do I need to factor in the fact that they haven't had these 50 temp hit points they're supposed to be getting every turn? And ultimately, I don't even think it mattered, because I don't think they really got attacked much after they started going down and getting healed up. Like, by then it was... And they were really focusing the Atropole after that. The crazy thing was, the reason this fight was so hard for them is because they waited so long to summon the damn Genie, which, if you notice, she was doing 40 damage a round to the Atropole. And she could fly. She just flew over there and just bam, 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 hit the thing. So doing, I think, in 2 rounds, 80 damage to it, which was, I think, more than anybody had done it to it in a single round. So if they had summoned that Genie right off the bat, that would have been a way different story. I don't know if they forgot about it or if they were still, holding back for some stupid reason. Why would you hold back at the final fight? I do not know. But the Genie was doing real work. And then once they were able to actually focus on the Atropole, and they still hadn't really touched Acererak at all. George was able to do his Vine Whip attack on Acererak, which was good because it dumped him in the lava. I did give Acererak Misty Step. That seems critical. I changed a few of his spells around. His spell list as written is very crappy, and maybe that's part of the balancing, is he's not prepared for this big fight. I gave him Magic Missile. I gave him Misty Step. Let's see. I don't actually even have my notes up, do I? Crap. I gave him Lightning Bolt because I figured he's kind of like the Sith Lord, but I realized because the Atropole was still up, there was very few times he could cast Lightning Bolt without hitting the damn Atropole, so I didn't actually ever use it. And really, because he's only going to be around a couple rounds, he only has so many turns. Although, I guess he does have those legendary actions. I used the Sphere once, but as others said, I realized that the Sphere of Annihilation seems like a cool thing, but it does almost no damage, and it's very low save, so it's just not a good use of his actions. I did his Invoke Curse one time with Time Stop. I don't know. I mean, the problem is, you've already got this big fight. There's a lot of moving pieces. The Atropol's got legendary actions. There's minions. And then you summon a giant, like, 9th level spellcaster who has legendary actions where he can cast all of his spells as legendary actions. And we've been going for 3 hours. My brain turns to mush. So I will accept any criticisms you all have of how I ran Acererak and all that. But I'm just telling you right now, I was not in, like, optimum tactical mode at that point, which is again why I feel that this fight didn't really need Acererak, because Atropol was so difficult on its own. The Soulmonger, like the cadence that the players had gone through, maybe they wouldn't have all dropped down so perilously had Acererak not shown up to cast, you know, Circle of Death and Chain Lightning and all that. But the way I would have adjusted it is I would have had the Stone Sisters fight be here. So I would have just moved that. You know, they do the trials, they open it up, they see the workshop with the Stone Sisters, maybe they fight some minions. And then they get to this last battle, and then they have to fight everything, and then there's the Atropol, and then at some point during that fight, all the Stone Sisters appear. I mean, it's even set up pretty well. You've got like one on each balcony, and then one on the southern balcony, and they can do their attacks. And it just makes sense. Like, they're the nursemaids to this thing. And then at the end of the entire thing, once they've beaten back, you know, everything, then you do the end of the Avengers movie with one of the surviving Stone Sisters be like, man, we just got our asses kicked. And then there's fucking Acererak on his throne in space. You know, you court death, and Acererak's like, hell yeah, and then it cut to credits. Like, honestly, that's how I would have done it. Like, I think I wouldn't have even included Acererak in this campaign at all. Oh, yeah, hang on one second. That's all right. All right, folks, I need to actually wrap this up right now. This is why we started early. We've had things come up, but I need to take care of them. So, you know, luckily we've got the epilogue and recap episode tomorrow, so we can obviously chat about the entire campaign then. It'll be fun, probably a normal length session with all the players, but I will need to see you all then for that. Apologies about wrapping it up early, but we've got stuff going on. It's a crazy week right now.